Describe in single words only the good things that come into your mind. About your mother?
My mother?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my mother.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves.
You are listening to the High Tech Low Life podcast, a cyberpunk media retrospective. High Tech Low Life contains language and themes not suitable for all audiences, as well as spoilers for the content being covered. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to High Tech Low Life, a podcast about cyberpunk stuff with your hosts Eric and Josh. I'm Eric.
And I am Josh.
This week we're doing a special episode because we had big plans for the first episode of the new year and then didn't have time to implement any of them.
Yeah, we kind of shat the bed on that. But, as importantly, we realized we are approaching 10 fucking years of podcasting within like 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not sure on the date. I think I could look.
Yeah, that'd be
when
easy.
The first Creek of the Week came out. There's a website, creekoftheweek.com.
There is. So we decided instead of beating ourselves up over not getting shit done as we had hoped to, we'll just do kind of a year in review. You know, what'd we like this year? Cyberpunk or not?
January 16th, 2015 was our very first podcast episode that we released.
Jesus Christ.
So that's coming up here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Neither can I.
I think we're going to skip our Recommendos and Dystopia talk because most of the show is going to be, a good chunk of it's going to be Recommendos. Mm-hmm. Dystopia talk, we talked about it. It's Christmas. Dystopia's out there, but it's keeping a low key right now.
It's laying relatively low for the moment.
I mean, I'm sure something happens, something probably very huge that we forgot about that's happened in the last 2 weeks.
And probably something huge will happen tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true too. But we don't want to talk about it. We're going to be good vibes for January 1st, 2025 when this comes out.
Good vibes only.
So first we're going to do a little year in review. Josh, is that what you have?
That's how it came to me when I was putting together my little lists.
In a dream?
Yeah.
You know, I said we're not doing Recommendos. I do want to give one really quick one because I watched it last night and It was weird. It was a movie called, I would have put it on my list, but I think it's from 23. Mm-hmm. It's a French movie called The Beast.
Think I have heard of that, but I have not seen it.
I really liked it. It's a super slow burn, slow ass movie about, it's kind of cyberpunk. I thought maybe it's more sci-fi than cyberpunk, but the gist is in this future, there's this procedure that you can have done that via going through your past lives, you can remove all of your trauma and purify your DNA so that you don't feel basically you don't have any emotions whatsoever. And so this woman goes through some of her past lives and it's basically, she keeps meeting the same man in her past lives. It's romance, but also like sci-fi. It was a good movie. I recommend it. It's French. Yeah, bear that in mind if you know what those movies are like.
Bear that in mind.
But anyway, I wanted to put it on the list, but I don't think it fits on any of them because it's not from this year. And I also know that recency bias plays a huge part in everything I do.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I'm sure at least a couple of the things that ended up on my lists were technically like 2023 releases, if only because, the stupid Oscar eligibility where a film will open up in 2 theaters in Los Angeles, December 27 and count as a 23 movie or something like that. But I did not feel like going through everything and looking up the actual release date. So fuck it. Ron Fez show.
I also have a feeling that our lists are going to overlap quite mostly.
Probably quite a bit.
Quite mostly.
Quite mostly.
So where did you want to start?
I don't know. I mean, I guess the easiest thing would be probably movies.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down first. And how do you want to do it? Do you want to go backwards from 5, do each of ours?
Oh, let's see. I guess I have 6 movies, but I don't care. We can just do one, trade off.
Okay.
You list one, then we talk about it, or we don't, and I list one, etc.
Okay. Like I said, probably the same things in different orders. So.
Yeah, and all my shit is unranked. It was just as it came to me. So
yeah, I did that too, but then I realized that as it came to me was pretty much ranked. So, my bottom of my list, which almost didn't include, I almost just made it a 4 list. I didn't see a ton of movies this year from this year, I should say. I did try to keep it to this year's movies.
Yeah.
But I put Fall Guy at the bottom of my list, the stuntman action movie.
Yeah, with Ryan Gosling and John Krasinski's wife.
Yeah. Yes, that's definitely how. What is her name? Fuck.
Yeah, that's what Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt.
Yeah, that was a fun movie. Like that was a really good way to burn 2 hours.
Yeah, and it was surprising to me because it was promoted in such a way that usually makes me expect a movie to be bad. When I see a lot of social media advertising and like just really pumping it in, on the previews and stuff, and ironic song choices in the trailers. Yes, yeah, I always just assume it's going to be trash that they're trying to oversell to just get a few butts and seats. Mm-hmm. Plus, Gosling was just off of Barbie. I know they were trying to capitalize on that. So
yeah, it surprised me and I loved it. Yeah, that was a really fun movie. I mean, that was up there in kind of that class of these are not great films, but boy, is it an entertaining way to spend 2 hours at a multiplex.
Also a movie they don't make that often anymore. Like just a fun action comedy. Make more of those. I like those.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Love Lies Bleeding, and was one of my picks. I don't know if anybody other than me saw it. I think I mentioned it on the podcast back when I watched it 6 months ago or so.
Oh, I wanted to see that. Yeah.
Stars Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien, I think is her name.
Ed Harris, according to the
yes,
I'm looking at.
Yeah, Ed Harris plays a total scumbum.
Nice.
And it is a grungy fucking noir film set in the 1980s with female bodybuilding and roid rage. And it's like a Coen. It's like a very early Coen's movie in kind of the vibes and how it feels. I really enjoyed it and haven't seen a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, I never saw it. It was on my little list. Well, I don't have an actual list, but my mental list, things that I would like to see. I love Kristen Stewart and always have, and I feel vindicated that she's doing things that are good now and it's not just the Twilight girl.
I'd have to look at her IMDb, but I don't think I have seen very much at all that she's actually been in. Just because she spent a lot of her career well outside of things I'd be interested in. But this movie and Panic Room, one of her very first films where she played Jodie Foster's daughter. She was really good as a 15-year-old, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right. She has some mannerisms that people like to make fun of, but I don't personally hold that against her. I don't know. I just every time.
Oh, she played Joan Jett in the Runaways movie. That's
did.
right. Yeah, that was all right. Yeah.
Anyway, I've noticed it's very common for young girls or young women when they get really popular to get a lot of hate, and that's always been like. Don't get me wrong, I was a young misogynist too. We all were in the early 2000s.
Don't get us wrong. They do be shopping.
I'm not trying to say that I'm like some enlightened dude, but it's always been like the Britney Spears hate and the Lindsay Lohan hate. It's always rubbed me the wrong way.
Oh, and currently
she got some of that.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. And currently, the Blake Lively hate. Hey, that's news from this past week, which is kind of cyberpunk. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't really delved into the whole story, but it sounds like that's some bullshit.
Yeah. It seems like a really bad use. It's like, wow, this is what the internet is for, huh?
Yeah. Anymore. Yeah, I was at a Vegas Knights game, and fucking Perez Hilton rang. They do this alarm at the between periods to start the period, and it's like Vegas' own Perez Hilton. I'm like, wow, that guy ruined a lot of fucking lives.
Dude still exists,
yeah, dude,
and is allowed in public.
I mean, it's Vegas. That's where scumbags go to.
Good point. Yeah,
to retire. But I'm like, man, that guy was a real piece of shit, right?
Yeah,
yeah, really ruined a lot of people's lives.
He was, if not a cause, then a primary symptom of how bad society was.
Anyway, let's move on. My next one down, I picked, and this is probably recency bias, but I picked The Substance because I really enjoyed it when I watched it.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was gross. It was horny. It was everything I like in a movie.
It was definitely gross and horny.
It was the three things I like in a movie. Weird, gross, and horny.
I mean, honestly, weird is one of my top selling points. Like, somebody tells me a movie is weird, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely was that.
Yeah, I liked that movie. I think I liked it less than a lot of other people, but it was still, if I was doing a top 10 or 15, it would definitely be in consideration.
I only think it's on here because, like I said, didn't have a ton of movies from this year that I watched, and it's very recent in my brain still. So anyway, Demi Moore was awesome in it.
Yeah. My next one is I think it might actually be one of those late 2023 movies. Godzilla -1.
Oh yeah, never saw it, but I heard a lot about it.
It's a fucking banger. I mean, it's Godzilla. It's somebody actually taking seriously the Godzilla as man-made catastrophe and the consequences of that. And it's all in Japanese, and it was a really good, fun movie, and apparently, super cheap to make, and they're going to make another one. So good for them.
I need to do that. I need to watch it because my wife was watching Godzilla versus Kong the other day, and she was expressing an interest in the Godzilla oeuvre. So we should watch the good one, not all the.
If it was the Godzilla versus Kong, where Kong gets the cybernetic arm and is pink.
I don't remember
from I think this year.
It might have been.
That was very close to making my list of dog shit.
Okay. But cybernetics, that's your wheelhouse.
That's why I went into it. I was like, okay. I had watched that Legacy fucking Kurt Russell's kid and Kurt Russell show and Godzilla -1, and I was like, okay, let's give this a shot. Bad movie. It's forgettable bad. You're like, yeah, those giant creatures just punch the fuck out of things, don't they? Good job.
Yeah. And you keep releasing more movies where they're punching the fuck out of things, and it's the same thing over and over. But
yeah,
that's why I didn't go see Godzilla -1. Is that what it's called? Because I'm like, I can't watch tall buildings fall down anymore. I just don't care that the tall building is falling down and there's a monster punching things.
Yep, that's fair. I think Godzilla -1 would be the exception that proves the rule to that.
Okay. I'll watch it. I'll watch it soon. The challenge has been cast. My next one on my list was almost certainly on your list is Furiosa.
Yes.
Not much more to say about that.
It's George Miller, Chris Hemsworth eating lots and lots of desert scenery.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fucking absolute banger. I mean, like, what are you gonna say? It's Furiosa.
It weirdly received. Like, I don't know. It wasn't as. It didn't do well, and like I feel like some people didn't like it. I don't get it.
But based on what I understand from what seems like a lot of posts on the internet, is that people were really assuming it would be exactly Fury Road, and George Miller had absolutely no fucking interest in doing that.
Yeah.
He went in with, okay, I'm gonna, well, imagine this in a silly Australian accent with ridiculous looking glasses on. I want to do a story about how Furiosa became Furiosa, and it's by its very nature going to be this episodic thing where we occasionally just jump 5 years for no reason, or, because the next important part of her growth is 5 years in the future, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I mean,
I was not roped in by the marketing. I was roped in by people I trust saying it was good. So, because the marketing had me thinking it was a nostalgia bait type thing. It didn't hook me at all. Because I watched the trailer I don't know. I guess I did go to a lot of movies early in the year. I just can't remember any of them. But anyway, I saw that trailer a lot. Maybe this was last year. I don't know.
I think you saw the trailer a lot this year because I remember you being surprised that it existed when we went and saw Dunk 2. Oh,
right. Dunk 2, which I guess, is that a segue?
Yeah, sure.
Because it's on my list, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, Dunk 2 with the comedy highlight of the year, Javier Bardem.
Yeah, that's actually my number one. I obviously loved Dune. The movie was everything I love. I love Denis Villeneuve so much. I've just determined. He's just my guy. Whatever he
You're the
makes.
World's biggest fan of Polytechnic.
I don't know what that means.
It's one of his early movies. It's about the
Montreal
Polytechnic shooter.
Sounds engrossing.
It is an experience. I mean,
I knew that I loved this guy when I watched Sicario, and I didn't know it was him. And
hey, another movie with Emily Blunt.
Yeah. And this was like before my household Narcos obsession, and I just generally didn't tend to like movies about that shit. I had no interest, and I watched it one night on a whim and just fucking loved it. So what I'm saying is, somebody can make me love a movie about a topic I don't like. That's got to mean they're a good movie maker, right?
Yeah, Dunk 2, great. I don't know. It's like Furiosa. Like, I don't know what anybody wants me to say.
I'm excited for Dunk 3.
Yeah,
Dunk Messiah.
I wonder how long that's going to take.
My little Google News app told me they put out a release date recently, but I don't believe that Google News app. It's pretty much all garbage, like most of the internet is these days.
Yeah, half of it AI generated.
And I'm worried about it because the book's a weird one.
It certainly is, and honestly, although I very much understand the sort of economic and cultural forces that make it very important to get this movie out in the next few years, I think it would greatly benefit from signing all the contracts and coming back to it in 15 years.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what happens in the story.
Yeah.
Chalamet's too young to play
Muad'Dib
in the book, but I mean, makeup, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a good actor. He proved that to us this year.
I suppose he did.
All right, we have one left for each of us, right? Or maybe you have two.
I have two left, but
okay. Do yours next.
Okay, one which I was actually going to do a segue from the how punching things gets boring.
Yeah, this is probably mine too then.
Monkey Man.
Yeah, that's my last one.
Yeah, Monkey Man, very fun movie about punching things.
I forgot it was this year until I went looking. I thought it was
me
older
too.
than that, which just goes to show I need to watch it again because enough time has passed.
Yeah, the incredibly sexy Dev Patel does the Indian equivalent of kung fu on fucking evil politicians and organized crime with the help of his trans buddies. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it's perfect. It's
yeah.
it's honestly, if I was listed in order, it'd be my number 2 of the year, right behind Dune. I'm not doing that joke, but you've got me doing
Fair.
right behind Dune 2. Is I walked out of the theater, Monkey Man, feeling like I'd witnessed something special that day.
Yeah, it was a surprisingly effective movie for a first time goddamn director.
Yeah.
In it's effectively in the sort of John Wick revenge genre, which you wouldn't necessarily think there's a lot you can do with that. I mean, you can do that really well, but this movie surprised the hell out of me in what it chose to do and what it focused on. And yeah, great movie.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I was a fan of John Wick 1 and 2. Fell off after that, but I think Monkey Man's better than those movies by a long shot. So,
yeah, I think that's very fair.
All right, what's your final one? That's my whole list.
My final one is another of the marginally this year, because I know it actually came out end of last year, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh, yeah, I like that too.
A movie that has only grown in my estimation since I watched it the first time, especially the last 3 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, it does have a weird ending.
I'm not saying that sarcastically or ironically. I think it's a really good movie until the last couple of minutes where suddenly the fucking fourth wall is broken and a non-existent character to that point shows up and says, "Hey, here's the deal. Here's why I did this."
Yeah.
And I think that little section has done nothing but stay with me and grown in my estimation.
I agree.
All right.
I liked that movie. I don't think I would put it on my top list just because, I don't know. It was long. I felt like
it was long,
and that's not something I usually. I watched a 2.5 hour movie last night that was super long, but a little bit I felt like when I'm about 3/4 of the way through and I'm checking my watch, I'm thinking, okay, I'm kind of sunk cost fallacying this movie now. It does pay off. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's not worth it, but the length did take away a little bit from me.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair. It's a movie where I don't mind how long it is, even though I do spend a lot of time in my life complaining about why can't movies be 90 fucking minutes anymore?
Podcasts.
Yeah.
I think you just answered your own question.
Definitely not guilty about that. But I didn't feel it with that movie. But, I totally see where someone might. So
yeah, I get it. People have different opinions on things.
Yeah, they do. What do you?
All right, are we
do
moving
next?
on to categories?
Yeah.
What do we got next?
Pick one.
Pick one.
I picked the first.
Well, then I want to do the one I'm most attracted to, which is music. I don't know if you've.
I have 2 entries.
You have 2 entries? Okay, I did a full
Yes.
5.
Okay, I don't know if I listened to more than 2 new entire records this year.
I mainly listen to new music because, I still have playlists of old music that I go through all the time, but I like constantly hearing new shit. So, and then I always keep a playlist when I find a new album I like, I move it over to this playlist, and then that's kind of my main list. Like driving around playlist is just a big old list of all of the albums that have come out this year that I've liked. You've only got 2. How do I do this?
I don't know. If you want, I can list the one that I don't assume is on your list, and then you can go through
I'm pretty sure one that's on my list is on your list. Let's just talk about that one. It's The Cure's Songs of a Lost World.
Yes, 1000%.
Great record that I wish I could actually find the vinyl to own, but I'm having trouble locating it.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, I knew I was going to get the new Cure record when it came out because it's a new Cure record and I'm obviously going to get it. And I went into it very tentatively because having been through the last couple of decades of The Cure and David Bowie fandom, I understand how everybody has a tendency to, within a few days of a new record drop, go, oh man, it's their best since Disintegration, or oh, it's his best since Scary Monsters. So I went into it really tentatively, knowing that like recency bias would be doing a lot of work.
It's rearing its ugly head a lot in this episode.
But fuck's sake, it is a good goddamn record. I don't want to say it's the best Cure record since Disintegration, but Robert Smith kind of put a gun to my head by doing that good of a record.
From my perspective, I'm not like, I'm a fan of The Cure in that like most of their singles are songs that I enjoy, but I've not like really dove deep into them. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I don't have that bias going for me necessarily.
Yeah.
Other than knowing they're a legendary act with, singles that will be sung throughout time.
Yeah.
But it was instantaneous on the listen to this record that whatever it's selling, I'm buying. I liked it immediately.
Yeah. It's, to my mind, it's like the perfect encapsulation and like middle ground between Disintegration and pornography. I mean, I was real nervous about saying, hey, this is great, but fuck, man. I guess sometimes waiting 14 years to put out a new record is worth it.
Yeah.
And supposedly he's got 2 more records,
really?
in like finishing production, and then another that they've largely recorded because Smith decided he does not want to be a rock star after he turns 70, so he's going to retire in 5 years.
Just bang them all out?
Yeah. This one, I think partially because of the pandemic and stuff, this one was supposed to come out a couple of 2-3 years ago.
Huh.
But it ended up getting delayed, and then I guess they put the time to good use. So,
well, whatever they did, like, I guess that's a good caveat for this. I watch quite a few music reviewers on YouTube and read them on various publications. And speaking personally, I don't know shit about production or anything like that. And whenever people start talking about that, my eyes glaze over, and I'm like, does the music trigger something in me? If so,
do song feel good in my belly?
Yes. Same way with food. Now that
Which
you're
fair enough, yeah.
Like the main one of the complaints I heard about Songs of a Lost World were its production, and I don't hear it. But then again, I don't know what I'm listening for. I'm not really an audiophile either, so like it sounds good in my head and it makes me feel emotions, and that's kind of all I'm really wanting.
Yeah. I honestly have no idea what people would be complaining about from a production end on listening to this record, but beyond the production, Robert Smith, still a very good songwriter, and that does a huge amount of the work for me.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to give off one of mine. I recommended it recently on here. I love it. It's Chat Pile's Cool World. It's very noisy and angry, and a lot of the emotions I feel towards things that are happening in Palestine, they put into musical form, and
then put it in a concept album based on the 1992 Ralph Bakshi movie Cool World.
That is not. It is not about that Cool World.
Okay.
But it is very heavy and sludgy, and it's exactly my type of heavy metal. Like, I don't listen to a ton of heavy metal anymore, although I still do. I've started to pick it up again for some reason. But Chat Pile makes exactly the type of heavy metal I want to hear. So check them out. Now, let's do your other one that doesn't overlap with mine, Josh.
Hopefully, probably doesn't overlap with yours. Kim Deal's solo record just came out like a month ago.
Talk about recency bias. That just came out. I haven't even listened to it.
Yeah, it's a good record. Like I don't think I like it quite as much as I did the last Reader's record, All Nerve, 5 years ago. I don't know, whenever that was. But it's she's still a good songwriter. And it's interesting from a listening to it perspective, just because it's not a Breeders record.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bunch of shit that would have absolutely no fucking place on a Breeders record at all. Like there's a like a bossa nova song, for God's sake.
Bossa Nova, Chevy Nova. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reference? I don't know.
Yes, I believe that's right. Anyway, it's a good record. And yeah, I'd put that in my number 2 slot this year after Songs of a Lost World, and possibly the second new record that I listened to in 2024.
I feel like there's got to be more than that, but
I don't know, man. I do not go out of my way to listen to new music, and comparatively, I think I listen to a lot more podcasts and a lot less music than you do.
Very true. I do go out of my way. It is actually labor intensive to find new music, and thankfully it's something I enjoy, but
yeah, it seems exhausting to me.
It is. But when you find something, when you're panning for gold and you pull that nugget out of the river, it feels great. And then you can put that nugget in your playlist and listen to it for the rest of your life. Let's do my next one. This one's off brand for me, but I really liked Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet album, especially when you compare it to Chat Pyle's Cool World. Those two side by side, you wouldn't think would be anybody's collection, but I don't know. There's something about her brand of pop music that I enjoy. So I figured I'd throw it on my list because even on list of like top pop records, I feel like it gets slighted. It should be higher.
I have heard of her. I do not know that I have heard a single song by her.
Well, you're missing out. Actually, I don't think you would like it very much, so you're probably not missing out.
Oh, I did remember another new record I listened to this year. It wouldn't be a recommendo.
Oh.
It's I don't think it's dog shit, but the new Pixies record that came out like 2 months ago, which is
meh.
I mean, the same way I feel about every Pixies record in this century.
Yeah, that's how I felt about seeing them live.
Yeah, that's very fair.
I really had to pee, and in the end, I decided I'd just go pee at home.
Yeah.
Rather than finish this show. Sorry, Pixies. You did some great things.
Hey, sometimes the magic leaves.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
I'm just going to bust out my last two here to
Please do.
keep from dragging this out. There is a nice little 70s style bedroom pop album by the artist Claro called Charm, which is a very sweet little chill album that I enjoyed very much.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably my number one album of the year actually is Waxahachie's Tiger's Blood. She's a local country-ish, not like bro country, but like, the good kind of country, like the
Americana,
maybe that's a better word.
I don't know.
I mean, I say she's local just because I know she lives here, but her album was huge. I think it's Grammy nominated.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Okay, well, cool. Oh, I also really liked Kendrick Lamar digging Drake's grave this year.
I enjoyed that too. And I enjoyed the fact that song is played everywhere. Like places where songs of calling a dude a pedophile shouldn't probably be played.
It's honestly impressive how that song was the music equivalent of placing somebody's mouth on a curb and just stomping.
Yes.
I mean, it is the most brutal own of all time.
If it's got Josh and I talking about rap beefs, that it had some power because that is not a world we are clued into. Yeah,
I've listened to some Kendrick Lamar and I go, yeah, that guy seems very talented, but it's not a genre I'm super, I don't feel like I can pass judgment on virtually anything in rap, but fuck.
That song is good too. Like it's
Yeah.
legit good.
He straight up murdered Drake in a wonderful 3.5 minute pop song. Like, pop in terms of popular, not pop. Yeah.
I know what you mean. Anyway, good job, Kendrick. I'm sure you needed our encouragement.
Fucking Degrassi Junior High found dead in a ditch.
Let's move on. What's the next category you got?
Let's do TV.
Okay, I was gonna say we don't have many categories left, so that's probably what you're going with.
Yeah.
I didn't I picked seasons.
Sure.
I didn't just pick like shows that debuted this year, so hopefully that's fine.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't. I guess actually all of mine are shows that debuted this year, but I wouldn't have expected only debuts.
I'm gonna kick it off with my number 5. I ordered these. The newest season of Lady Parts I enjoyed very much. I actually watched the whole show this year.
Shit, that would have been on my list if I hadn't forgotten it.
I actually think it's We Are Lady Parts is the name of the show. But we've talked about all of these on our previous podcast, so we don't need to dive into what they are. But
that would have been on my list had it come to me.
A perspective you don't see very often in TV. And Muslim women punk band in England.
Yeah, I hope they do more.
I mean, certainly do, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I guess what I would probably put as my number 5, Dr. Odyssey.
Oh, you put it on the list. I haven't watched it because it's not streaming on anything I have.
I believe it's a Hulu.
I keep getting these hints from people I follow, like, Pacey had a threesome on a boat tonight. And like, fuck.
Oh, dude, it's like, if you want to see Joshua Jackson being charming in a completely trash show that includes just the shit that I was unaware they were allowed to do on network television. Like, there is a strongly physically implied MFM threesome.
Nice.
And I don't know, maybe I'm old fashioned, but I could totally see a network TV show going a guy and 2 girls, because the audience can picture them kissing each other gently.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's Pacey, a very attractive young lady, and this other sexy fucking dude. and no, it is not quite explicitly called out in the text, but nice. there was action going every which way, and the show is super charming, and you just watch it, and it's great.
Glad to see our boy getting good fun work out there.
Yeah.
Whereas our other boy from Dawson's Creek's not doing so well.
Yeah. Good luck, James.
Keep seeing him pop up doing interviews with his big old full head of hair, and I'm like, oh, shouldn't you be pretty deep into treatments by now? I don't know much about cancer treatment, but damn, you look like you're not.
As I messaged Zoe and Gabby, I'm very worried about his wife in this situation.
Yeah, I'm worried about all of them.
Yeah.
Poor James.
Yeah.
That's been your Dawson's Creek portion. Let's move on. My next pick, number 4, I had Bad Monkey.
Great. That was, that's one of my slots as well.
Vince Vaughn surprisingly making me like him again when I thought that wasn't possible.
It's exactly the wheelhouse in which he works, and it works exactly right. I mean,
it does.
If you're familiar with Carl Hiaasen novels, which is what Bad Monkey is based on, his protagonists tend to be smart-ass, jerks.
Yeah.
Smart-ass, charming jerks. And
who do the right thing, but complain about it the whole time.
Yeah, it's a beautiful marriage of material to public perception in this case.
I mean, the main character of Bad Monkey is an inarguably good person. Like he gets into all of his trouble because he's trying to do the right thing.
He's just shitty about it.
Yeah. He's just smarmy and yeah. And I enjoyed every episode of that. I enjoyed the supporting cast quite a bit too.
Mm-hmm.
All of the stuff that took place on, was it the Bahamas?
Yeah.
I can't remember the island.
Yeah. Shit. I can't remember.
It's been too long.
But yeah.
But yeah.
It was, with Josh Jackson's ex-wife.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just a great show. And they are coming back with another one of those somehow.
That is the word. Yeah. He did another book with,
Yancey.
Yeah, with Nick Yancey as the main character. But I don't know if they'll adapt that or just roll off on their own.
Yeah, that'd be fine too if they stick to the vibes of Hyacinth.
Yeah. Anyway, the very fun show.
Next.
Okay, another very fun show, Elsbeth, which I am sure you haven't seen.
Definitely.
I'm pretty sure I mentioned it this last spring on the podcast. It is the second generation spinoff of
I saw ads for that.
Of a character from The Good Wife. It's effectively like Columbo, where you see how the crime goes in the first 10 minutes, and then it's this bizarre, very well characterized weirdo character played by Carrie Preston, solves it as not a police, notably, but as a lawyer attached to the police as part of a consent decree. So it's only halfway propaganda, so that helps. But it is a fun, charming show that has a bunch of like interesting and fun guest stars and is a great way to burn a fucking hour of, an evening.
I need to watch it. I like the lead actress was in True Blood, and I enjoyed her in True Blood.
She is great in basically everything I've ever seen her in. She was across, I don't know, probably 15 episodes of The Good Wife and then The Good Fight.
Yeah.
And she's also married to a great actor, Michael Emerson.
They're married?
Yeah, have been for 20 years.
He might come back up on our list.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that. Yeah,
I did too. I realized that as I saw his face, and I'm like, that's not on my list. This is going to now be a 6.
Yeah.
Top 6.
Yeah. Okay, let's just move into that.
Yeah, let's segue into Evil. A lot of these shows we've talked about so much that I feel like we're really beating a dead horse, but Evil was one of the most, I don't know. It wasn't necessarily a creative show, but it was one of the weirdest shows on TV, and I'm sad that it's gone and that they're not making any more and finishing as strong as they should.
It is absolutely a goddamn banger.
And Michael Emerson is so fucking detestable on it.
He is an awful piece of shit.
Like, you hate him so goddamn much, and he does such a good job.
Yeah. And he'll come up again in a later portion of the show, not in this list, but yeah, Evil, so good. It's all on Netflix now, I think, including the last season. So go watch it. Maybe that'll give enough demand for them to do fucking 4 seasons in a movie or something.
I don't feel like the last season was its strongest, but it definitely delivered.
I think they really did their fucking best with the constraints they were under. I mean, the fact that the Kings, Robert and Michelle, who are the executive producers and creators of that, The Good Wife, The Good Fight, Elsbeth, were able to negotiate with CBS to say, you can't, I mean, we're going to stop working with you in the future and pull our other shows if you don't give us like an extra block of episodes to finish the series, like to end it. I think that was a huge flex and good for them for doing that.
We can blast through my number 3 listing because I've mentioned it like every last fucking episode, but the final season of Somebody Somewhere was just a really touching show that everybody should check out. And I've harped on it enough the last several episodes of our show, but
Yeah, me
wanted
too.
to put it on the list.
Great show. Another one that I know we both and also Jeff spent some time on to go fast. Shogun.
Yeah, that was my number one, actually.
Yeah, Shogun, great fucking show. If you haven't seen it yet, you should. Give it a shot.
Yes, it was probably my favorite show of the year, I think.
I think that is a really defensible position to take. Like, hard to argue with that one.
My number 2 was the season 2 of Pachinko, which some crossover casting there. I really liked Pachinko a lot. It made my heart hurt, but it was a good show.
That's what that show does.
Yeah.
That on my list as well. A real quick one, which I mentioned at least a few times on the show, a Hulu program called How to Die Alone.
I think you did mention that.
Is a 30-minute sitcom, about a woman who is very depressed and lonely and trying to get better. And it's very funny.
Wow, we really rapidly went down sadder. Like Shogun's pretty sad. Pachinko's very sad. This sounds like the saddest of all.
It's way funnier than it sounds like.
Okay.
She almost dies in the first 5 minutes of the first episode where she's putting together an IKEA bookshelf.
Oh yeah.
And it falls on her as she is stuffing an egg roll in her mouth and almost chokes to death and dies.
Sounds delicious though.
But it is thematically very much like Somebody Somewhere.
Okay.
In terms of how the main character functions. But yeah, very, very fun show and very good.
I want to do a real quick honorable mention because we just started watching Laid.
I haven't started that yet. I'm excited to see Shoo Shoo.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I can't put it on the list because I haven't finished it, but and it just came out. But giving it honorable mention because it's been a lot of fun the first 3 or 4 episodes.
Oh, good. That's on my list to start in the immediate future.
All right.
What I have one more.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I talked about it a fair amount on the show, so it's going to be quick. It's a program called The Gold. It was a BBC. It was a British program from the very beginning of last year. It's about a gold robbery in 1980. And
yes, you talked about this.
Yeah, has a bunch of actors that everybody has seen in a million things. It's about how this gold filters through society and gets into high-end real estate and stuff like that. The reason and it was a much better show than I expected going in. I figured, it's going to be some fun bullshit crime thing. It's a much better made show than it deserves to be. And in, I think, the next month, like January 2025, it will be airing on Masterpiece Theater, so it'll be viewable easily by pretty much every American. So,
neat.
Yeah. All right. You want to do books? How about books? You got a lot of books, Eric?
I don't have any books, so this is going to be all you. I read some books, but they're not from this year.
Yeah. Let's see. I think 2 of mine that I initially put on my list were not from this year, but so I won't even bother mentioning them. Okay, number 3, Carla's Choice by Nick Harkaway. I brought it up a couple of months ago when it came out on the podcast. It is a George Smiley novel written by John le Carré's son, Nick Harkaway, who would also make another appearance on the list if my brain remembered dates right. It's a really good spy novel set in 1964 Berlin. I mean, it's exactly my bullshit. So I don't think it's a great sequel to all of the wonderful Le Carré novels that everyone knows and loves.
Everyone, obviously.
Everyone.
I do.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy was one of his.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. You probably even saw the movie 10 years ago.
I don't think so.
Really? Oh, it's a good movie. Gary Oldman, Tom Hardy. Yeah.
I remember it coming out, but I don't think I saw it.
Yeah, great movie. Even better book than the Alec Guinness BBC miniseries from like 1982 is even better.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Number 2, The Daughter's War.
Number 2.
By Christopher Buehlman.
Ah, now that one I did check out from the library on my Libby book reader, but never got around to listening to it, and then it went back to the library. So now I have to wait another 6 to 8 weeks to get it again.
Yeah, sure. Oh shit! Did the last Jade book come out this year, or was that last year?
I don't think it was this year. I think it was last year.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure it was out. Yeah. Daughter's War looks good. I read its prequel.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it is a prequel. I read its.
I read the book that came out first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daughter's War, very good. I really liked that. If anybody enjoyed The Black-Tongued Thief by Christopher Buehlman, The Daughter's War is just as good.
Now, bear in mind that I generally hate prequels, just on the fact that, I don't know. I feel like they're spoiled. I'm sorry.
I think that is a weird way to be, but I know that people are that way.
Well, I can't help it. I just feel like I know what is eventually going to happen. So what happened in the past doesn't matter, and I usually just tend to prefer it to be left up to my own brain to fill in. So that all being said, will I still like it more than The Black-Tongued Thief?
Well, okay. I don't know if you, for anybody else, I would probably say yes.
Okay.
But since the main character is not a complete slimy piece of shit.
Oh, that's true. I like The Black-Tongued Thief for that reason.
You might not like it as much. If we're taking away the Bib Fortuna aspect.
He was kind of Bib Fortuna, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He even spoke a lot of languages.
Yeah, and he was great. Which I also love that. Maybe not to the exceptional amount that you do. But,
yeah. I love a piece of shit with a heart of gold.
I think The Daughter's War might be slightly better written than, but it's a really good book. And I mean, there are some real piece of shit, thieves in it. So that's good.
I'm going to get to it. I just got to recheck it out again and wait the fucking waiting period.
Yeah. Finally, something that I've fairly recently mentioned on the show that I sort of sideways got a recommendo from Jeff on the show. Premi Muhammad's The Siege of Burning Grass.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that, and I want him mentioning it too. Yeah,
which is he had recommended another book by the same author, I think, when we were at Astronomicon. And then I picked this one up, and it was a wild fucking ride. It was, as we've discussed before, like the old saw about how it's really hard to make it's hard to make an anti-war movie about war.
Yeah.
This is an anti-war book about war, and it manages to stay very anti-war.
Oh, that's the one where he's a pacifist, right?
Yeah, the main character is a complete pacifist in a genocidal war. And,
that really intrigues me. I need to write it down, actually.
And also there are pterodactyls kind of functioning as fighter jets. So that's cool.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Anything else? I can shout out, I read Babel this year, which I think it came out 2 years ago, and I really liked it.
That was the other one that made my list, but I didn't check the...
I think it came out in 22.
Yeah. That was a great book. Kwong. R.F. Kwong? Is that right?
Kwong, yeah. Kuang, I think. Very pretty book.
Yeah, that would be on my list, absolutely, if it had come out this year, but...
Alas, time, you trickster. Yeah. I had a short little video games category. I played a bunch. I played a handful of video games this year. I wanted to just list off shout out some ones we've shouted out before. But
Sure.
if you're looking for a cheap way to kill 8 days in a row with no sleep, download Balatro. It's very fun.
It is a card based. It's like a poker game.
Video poker based. I feel like that turns people off when I say that, though. It does require you some knowledge of the poker hands. Of course, if you don't have it, it'll teach you what poker hands are. But it's way more of a like mathematics game or a roguelike than it is a poker game. There's no gambling involved. There's no wagering. It just uses poker terms to do very fun things with numbers, basically.
Yeah, I spent several hours over the course of a couple of nights doing voice chat while Jeff was playing it and getting into watching him playing it.
Yeah, it's surprisingly fun to spectate, which you wouldn't think, given what I've said about numbers and video poker. But
yeah, it's not a game that I would in any way assume I would be interested in, but it just doesn't do things that I would want. But watching it was really entertaining.
And is nominated for Game of the Year, which for a little indie title, which I believe was pretty much conceived by one guy and made by a very small team. Mm-hmm. That's cool. We like an underdog story. So shout out Balatro. Yeah. Do you have a video game you've played you want to shout out?
I have a video game I played that I will shout out. Caves of Cud.
Yeah.
I'm 30 hours in.
That's a lot. You are more cud-pilled than me at this point.
Well, it's very easy to be watching TV and sit there and do it.
Yeah, it is. It's good for that.
Over the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Fun game. There's some cyberpunk stuff in it.
Very much so.
Yeah. You wander around a big procedurally generated world map, going through procedurally generated dungeons, and you kill monsters and get killed and dismembered repeatedly by monsters.
And if you're able to use your imagination, it'll tell a really interesting story. If you're more focused on visuals, you might be let down. But
yeah, hey, look, it is so many generations past graphically Rogue.
Yeah. I think we talked about it a lot last episode. So
was it a lot? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, let's move on.
My last one, I wanted to shout out a AAA title because, and this I had so much fun playing this, but it has some serious problems that I feel like I need to address too. But that is Warhammer 40K's Space Marine 2. The game is so fucking fun, and it makes you feel like a badass Space Marine stomping and slaughtering on anyone who would threaten your beloved Emperor. The bad side is that it doesn't really ever point out that this isn't as cool as it looks.
Okay, yeah, well, that's the Warhammer 40K problem.
It is, and I feel like the official narrative of 40K has taken steps to kind of fix that and made it more obvious that it's satire and that this world is not good. Unfortunately, the video game doesn't. Like, the video game is very serious. It's not tongue in cheek, and it is cool, and that's the bad side because it's beautifully. They show you what you've been reading about in 40K stuff, and they do a great job of depicting it on the screen, and it looks real and it feels real, and you're part of it, and you're like, yeah, maybe this Emperor is a guy I should follow to my death. And then you think, wait a minute, that's bad, and I know that's bad, but a lot of idiot teenagers playing this game don't. So that's it's winning. The thing that makes it so good and the thing that is a problem are kind of the same, which is a shame.
Yeah, I've seen people talk about it. Is it an FPS?
Yeah, sort of. It's a third-person shooter over the shoulder. The animations when you kill bugs and stuff, they're just... The game is just designed so that combat is satisfying. And even though you're doing the same moves over and over again, it's just satisfying every time. It's hard to explain with that if you haven't played it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my love-hate entry because... it really is good, but it also is really not good for your soul.
Psychically not good. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
That's all I got for video games. I mainly played Apex Legends beyond that
Yeah, sure.
for the 5th year in a row.
Okay. My last real category where I've got recommendos, there's another category after that, but we'll get to that, is revisits. Things that I, kind of rewatched from history in the past year. And, I don't know if you have any.
I didn't write any down because I couldn't. The years blend together, and I was hoping you might jog my memory with what you wrote down.
Okay, well, number one, Gremlins 2. Gremlins 2 provided an absolutely absurd amount of joy to the last couple of weeks of my year.
Yeah, I was deep in a Gremlins 2 hole for a couple of weeks there.
Yeah, I was way surprised by how much fun that we had with that. Number two, I watched David Lynch's entire fucking oeuvre, including Twin Peaks and Wild at Heart and all that stuff. And boy, it was comforting, especially in November. Like, I've got a half fleshed out mental thesis about why Twin Peaks is a comfort watch. That on the surface, somebody would look at that and go, wow, you're an insane person, but I can justify it. I'm not going to give that thesis now. But
maybe you should get a Substack and put it and write it all out.
Oh God. Isn't Substack all about Nazis anymore?
Oh, it's not that they're about Nazis. They just, they don't ban Nazis. I don't know what the fucking story is, but there's Substack clones too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So
why is that such a problem? Why is it just anything we want to do on the internet? You have to check and be like, is this completely infested with Nazis or
because we failed to do anything about it to control them about 15 years ago.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, it's more the major tech companies' fault, but it's also our fault.
Yeah, there's blood on all of our hands.
Yeah, there really is. Let's see. SLC Punk. I watched that, I think, end of the summer for the first time in 25 years. That's a nice movie.
The whole thing isn't nice, but it's a good movie.
Yeah. That's surprised because somebody had made a reference to it while I was out in the field this summer, and I was like, man, I haven't seen that forever, and sat down and watched it, and good fucking movie.
I agree.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch it. Maybe we should Patreon that one.
That's not I would, it's got Matthew Lillard, so it's vaguely tied into
while we're on
Cyberpunk.
While we're on the topic, I think I got similar vibes from The Thing. I really enjoyed rewatching The Thing for Patreon.
Yeah.
Almost as much as, maybe as much as Gremlins 2. It didn't require as much content creation, so I got to just enjoy it.
Yeah. Like I said in the episode, maybe a perfect movie.
Yeah.
I think this year might be the year of us doing effectively perfect movies between that and Terminator.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, oof.
We did some good ones.
Yeah, we really did. Including my next item, Blade Runner.
We did do Blade Runner this year.
I watched approximately, I would say 25 hours of Blade Runner.
Right.
in various cuts. I was losing my mind towards the end, but at no point did I think, boy, I wish I wasn't watching Blade Runner.
I only watched it once.
Yeah.
We did talk about it for 8 hours.
We did. I feel it was a true victory that you managed to get me, you, and Chris talking about Blade Runner down to a couple of acceptably sized episodes.
Yeah. There's a lot cut out of that one.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot hit the floor. I have two more really quick. Both of them are Cyberpunk related, but not terribly Cyberpunk in and of themselves. I rewatched *Halt and Catch Fire*. I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. I got some good messages on various platforms from some of our listeners who
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that they had also loved the show. It's a drama about making computers in the 1980s and 90s. And it's a show it could be set in, the fact that it's computers makes it vaguely tangential to our show, but it could be in any fucking industry. It's just about the relationships between the people who are on the show. And it's really well observed and great, and I highly recommend it. And then finally, what I am finishing up rewatching right now and will be done with by the time this episode comes out, Person of Interest, which is a pretty cyberpunk show, and co-stars
Our
Michael
friend.
Emerson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've been recommending that to me for 10 years or so.
probably.
Maybe since
Yeah.
we started podcasting.
I am trying, like, I've been over the past couple of days trying to figure out, like, how many episodes is it acceptable to force Eric to watch so we can talk about it on the show, because it is cyberpunk.
Okay.
I mean, the end of in the first episode, you find out that everything that's been happening is because of this AI that's been created. And the whole show eventually becomes a war between two AIs, and it's fucking great. But it's just how much, like, there are, I think 100, almost 100 episodes of the show, 103 maybe. And I can't expect a human to do that for a show.
Yeah.
So, it's how much I'm going to cut down. Like, where do I cut down to the very meat of the program and the cyberpunk aspects?
I remember when I watched Lost, it felt daunting like that. Like, and
Also a Michael Emerson show.
Yeah, definitely. We are running out of time. Let's talk about, do you have one more list you said before the worst of?
No, that's the worst of.
Okay. Well, let's do the worst of then. I don't have much on it because I tend to, if I'm watching it at home, I will stop and leave. If I'm watching, so basically it's confined to things I watched in the theater. Because if I'm at a theater, I'm probably not going to walk out if I'm all cozy with my snacks. I'll probably sit there and endure. And my only bad movie I watched in the theater was The First Omen, which I did not care for at all.
Somebody made reference to that to me within the past couple of weeks, and for some reason I was thinking that you had liked that, but
I was told
apparently
it
wrong.
was good. I was told it was a really scary, fun movie. I didn't like it. I am over Catholic-based horror movies completely, though. Like, I don't need any more. I want to see something.
Well, I mean,
else.
evil is kind of the peak of the genre.
It is. You're right. Like, they did it best. Them in that Russell Crowe movie.
Yeah, Pope's Exorcist. Woo.
Yeah, that one, not the other one. Honestly, though, like, there's other religions. Let's or not make it religious. I don't know. Just get.
Hey, in terms of other religions, a vague fresh recommendo from the past couple of weeks was, what the hell was that Hugh Grant movie called?
Oh, Heretic. Yeah,
Heretic. Yeah.
I literally watched that 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It
definitely wouldn't make my, top 5 of the year, but it's like in a normal week, I would say that was a recommendo.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think I liked it better than anything on my list though.
Yeah.
It's competing with Monkey Man, for fuck's sake, but Hugh Grant is a creepy old fucker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just move away from Catholic mythology. Maybe, why are there no like more Protestant horror movies?
It's a good question.
Because it's scary enough on its own.
And also it doesn't tend to be quite as theatrical.
True, it doesn't. Yeah, there's no incense and
the outfits aren't nearly as cool.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, I have a mythology for you that earned an entry in my list titled Boo! The Crow 2024.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on the list of movies this year, and I'm like, that's going to come up for Josh.
Bad. They should be punished. Stop it. Dog shit.
What are you thinking, Bill Skarsgård? I really want to see Nosferatu, by the way.
Yeah, me too. I'm interested in that.
I think we might go see it this week. But
I
yeah,
didn't see the first one. Nosferatu 1?
Nosferatu 1. Okay. Fuck you.
You like that?
Did not. The Crow. Okay. The Crow. I lived that vicariously through you. I don't think I need to experience it myself.
Yeah, don't. Like these are not movies where I say, "Oh, you should watch it to see how bad it is." This is no, don't watch it. This is very bad. Don't.
Speaking of that, is Megalopolis on your boo list?
No.
Okay.
I think it would be fair to put it there. Like I would accept anybody's argument that it's the worst piece of shit they saw in the past calendar year.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it has a completely deranged je ne sais quoi to it.
I still haven't seen it. It's one of those things like I just have to set aside an entire evening, and I find that hard to do.
Like, to some extent, the movie is clearly dog shit. On the other hand, it's one of those movies that's clearly dog shit, where you go, there are ideas here that I am interested in, and it's just barely nicking them.
Yeah.
And, like, I wish I could see what this movie was envisioned as opposed to what is appearing on my screen.
Wish you could be in Coppola's head.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Putting it that way sounds weird. I mean, and he's like, I don't know. I would like to talk about that movie with somebody who's seen it, because there's just so much stuff where it's so clearly a movie that he's been working on for 40 years. And you can see vaguely what he was trying to get at, but it was like the sentences explaining it were lost 5 drafts ago.
It feels like the Chinese democracy of movies.
Yes. Like, I know for a fact that this is a really great guitar line and solo, but the rest of the song doesn't work around it. What was this originally intended to be in?
Yeah, the first draft was probably the best.
Yeah.
My other boo, and I'm only putting this in, it's not fair to give it a full boo. Since we brought it up, the Dune TV show, I don't remember the full title of it.
Betty Gesserit.
Yeah. That's not what it's called.
Bump Prophecy, right?
Dune Prophecy. Yeah, that makes sense. I watched
the Betty Gesundheit show.
I watched the first half of one episode and got sad and didn't want to watch anymore because it wasn't the Dune I wanted to see. It was a prequel, and I didn't buy it. Like when I saw those, there were like some young Bene Gesserit women gossiping around a library table. It didn't feel. I'm a newcomer to the Duneverse, put it that way. I read the books in like 21 or something before the first movie came out, and they, even at my old age, they impacted me strongly. And there's a certain feeling I equate with them when I'm consuming Dune stuff. And this TV show did not have it. It felt like a cheap knockoff, and it made me sad.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't finished the show either. It's got a lot of stuff that like could easily go into things that I like. Like, it has a ton of actors that I absolutely fucking love.
That's what mainly drew me to watch it.
Fucking Mark Strong, Olivia Williams, shit. Anyway, bunch of people that I fucking love on it. And I spent the entire show so bored.
Yeah.
Just like, and I, like I said earlier, I don't have that prequel problem. Because I think generally the journey is more important than the destination. And I don't feel like this was fucking going anywhere. And the journey was pretty boring with some very nice sets.
I got really annoyed when she's like, I've been working on something. Oh, she's been working on The Voice. It's like, can't that just remain like a like, why do you got to explain fucking everything that happened? Yeah, that shit bothered me. That's the main reason I like prequel stuff, because it usually ends up people pandering like that and being like, remember that thing? Here's how it started.
It usually ends up being Solo, where Han Solo gets his last name Solo. Yeah. Because a guy is like, oh, you're alone? I'll put your name down as Solo. You are now Han Solo.
Fuck.
Solo.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Although I didn't hate that movie as much as most people, but I did hate that.
I wish that movie had just been a fucking Lando Calrissian movie, and like it would have been a million times better.
But yeah, I think Dune Prophecy is they're going to make another season. Enough people liked it. I think that's mainly just cashing in on.
I'll probably finish the first season if I find some time, like eventually.
Let me know if it pays off in the end.
I can't imagine it does.
Everybody I've been seeing online says it's not worth the effort. So
yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad Olivia Williams and Mark Strong are getting paychecks.
I like extended universe ideas. Like the Dune universe is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Go off book and make up your own story.
Why not go 10,000 years in the past where things appear to be exactly the same as they are 10,000 years in the future?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
why not show the fucking war with the AI? That would have been interesting.
That's, like, I understand the point of the universe remaining relatively static for 10,000 years because it's a feudal system. Like Frank Herbert's trying to make a point with it.
I get that. Yeah.
On the other hand, it doesn't have to look exactly the same.
Yeah.
And also, you don't if you're going 10,000 years in the past, you don't have to be constrained to fucking anything. You can go 10,030 years in the past and have the Butlerian Jihad.
Right.
Like,
what's 10,000 years in our past like?
Well,
did everything look pretty much the same?
Oh yeah, it was almost exactly the same.
What was like Twitter's UI like back then?
Oh, so much cleaner.
Oh yeah,
but a lot less functional. You know, it didn't have
only 140 characters.
That was that was only 12,000 different versions of the AV Club front page.
Come on, don't. They're milking all the franchises. They're just milking them.
Hey, and that brings up my second and final thing on the boo list.
Okay.
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Oh God, yeah, you spent a lot of time complaining about that.
It's, well, like I said before, Bustin' made me feel bad.
Yeah.
It is the most cynical and frankly hateful of its audience, or of the thinking audience.
Nostalgia is poison.
It really is. It's just, let's see that again and again, and it's like, I don't know, it's just a bummer. Like
ending on the boo list is kind of like us ending on a bummer.
Well, I figure that lets us trail off like we usually do.
That is our style.
Yeah, it's a bad movie, made for bad people.
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm glad I didn't watch it.
Yeah, smart.
I haven't watched any of the new Ghostbusters.
Good on Harold Ramis for dying before either of these movies came out.
Oh, he would have probably been there. I mean, get the bag, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't blame the actors.
Yeah, me neither. I blame society, man.
Yeah, society, man.
Anyway, going back to SLC Punk.
Yeah.
Hey, that's it.
That's it. That's our 2024 list. Do you think that's a good place to close out the episode?
I think that is as good a place to close out the episode as fucking any.
We have picked a movie for next week, and seems like a good spot to lay it on you. We've decided we're going to start 2025 with a pretty big one in the cyberpunk oeuvre, which is the word of the day.
Oeuvre?
And we're going to do the original Robocop.
Yes, Robocop, 1987, directed by Paul Verhoeven, starring Peter Weller and other people whose names I can't think of right now.
Peter Weller's the big one.
A bunch of great people.
Yeah. I'm excited for this one.
This is another one. I'm pretty sure I saw it on DVD, but it would have been in like the year 2000 at DVD.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've seen it since then. Pretty excited to see how this one stacks up.
And considering the bangers we've been seeing lately that held up so well, it might not. Like, it might be a disappointment.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm excited. until then, guys, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/hightechlowlife. If you want to kick a few dollars at it, there's some extra content on there. We're going to try to be a little bit better about that this year than we were last year, but no promises because we suck.
And including possibly in the very near future, version 2 of this show, this episode.
Yeah.
Except, version 2.5. How about that?
We are 10 years in podcasting, so a retrospective might be fun to do.
Yeah, we're thinking we're going to review 10 years of our own show.
And we'll probably do that on the Patreon if we do, because those people will be most interested. Let's be honest. A lot of people, most of our listeners now aren't long timers. So
yeah.
And they're probably better off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Long timers, you're weird.
Long timers, you are odd people, and we love you very much.
Yes. So yeah, hopefully that'll be coming soon. And there's other stuff on there too. So check it out if you want. Also check us out on Bluesky, where High Tech Low Life. Josh is at count 0
with
an
a
X.
0 instead of an O.
And I am at
and
the
an
frog
X.
with a 0 instead of an O. And that's motherfucker.
What the hell just happened?
I texted you before this show began and said, do not let me forget that we have an
damn
email.
it, fucking email. It's open in a tab. Son of a bitch.
All right. We're going to do an email real quick. We're not waiting again.
No.
This is the episode to do it on.
Again. Okay. You want to read it or you want me to?
I do not have it open in a tab.
Okay.
I can pull it up.
All right. High Tech Low Life. Forward. A pretentious question for discussion, which fits right up my goddamn alley. I wrote this question when Eric made a request for comments for the mailbag episode, but I decided it was too pretentious and not in the spirit of a mailbag, so I ended up not sending it. But I'm curious to hear Josh's thoughts, so I figured I'd send it now and let you decide if it's too pretentious to discuss on air. Or you can just tell me, shut up, nerd. And that's fair too. Thank you, by the way, for including that option. I mean, we would take it regardless of whether or not you had included it. Not too pretentious. Love this. So, he continues. When someone is new to Cyberpunk and asks what book to start with, I typically say Neuromancer, Snow Crash, and Altered Carbon. They're each bestsellers and great examples of the Cyberpunk genre, so I think they're good starting points for a casual fan. Yet I realized recently that each book also represents a different decade. Neuromancer, 1980s, Snow Crash, 1990s, and Altered Carbon, 2000. And I wonder if each book was actually able to tap into some cultural zeitgeist that helped increase its popularity at the time. Josh can disagree with me on those selections, of course, but my real question for him is, what would you say is the defining cyberpunk novel of the 2010s? Is there one? Or has the cyberpunk literary genre become so dated and cliched, it's all self-referential retro 80s aesthetic and is no longer relevant to the cultural zeitgeist anymore? As unfortunate as it may be, I'd argue that Ready Player One is the defining cyberpunk novel of the 2010s. It hits all the cyberpunk tropes, sold extremely well at the time, and was even turned into a big-budget movie directed by Steven Spielberg. Of course, the story is still dumb and full of nostalgia porn, but maybe that's actually an accurate reflection of the 2010s?
Mm-hmm.
Note that I'm not asking what was the best cyberpunk novel of the 2010s. I was thinking more about which cyberpunk novel was able to tap into the sentiment of the time and capture the attention of the general public. That's why I'm thinking more of bestsellers and not hidden gems. And that's why the answer may be there isn't one. Maybe the general public as a whole doesn't care to hear cyberpunk's warnings anymore. Maybe it only exists as nostalgia now, and Ready Player One is the logical conclusion. Or maybe I've simply forgotten some major novel of the 2010s and the genre is still alive and well. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Kevin. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, that's exactly the type of question Josh loves. And I will preemptively say, shut up, nerds. It's both of you.
Yeah. Okay. I think you were on a really interesting intellectual path here. I like your framing of the decades, novel per decade thing. And I think you're exactly right in both Neuromancer and Snow Crash. I initially bounced off a little bit of your suggestion that Altered Carbon was the 2000s version. But in retrospect, I think you're right for reasons that are not immediately apparent, like on the surface, like as to why that was the thing. Because Neuromancer and Snow Crash both make a lot of very obvious surface sense to encapsulate their decades. Even though actually all three of these books not only are in different decades, they all come out in like the first couple of years of the decade. Mm-hmm. So Neuromancer is partially this. Part of what makes it so effective is it is capturing the early to mid 80s dynamic, which continued into the 90s or I guess mutated into the 90s, but a little bit of this flavor of Orientalism related specifically to high-tech Japan, where somebody, it might have been Gibson, said at one point that Japan has been in the year 2000 since 1980, and it's remained there, even though it's 25 years later. So that was actually a thing that we don't think about a lot anymore, but was weirdly huge in the 1980s and 90s, the sort of threat of Japan taking over the world and how high tech and computers and everything is changing the world away from American hegemony. You also see it in Die Hard with Nakatomi Tower.
Yeah. You see it in Pachinko. From the Japanese point of view, they are pretty convinced they're about to take over and they can't be stopped.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a weirdly forgotten thing that really hung over the American psyche for a good 15 years. I've had discussions with, especially people who were younger than me when I was taking classes, and how, somebody who was born in the late 90s or the year 2000 has no idea that there were just tons of news stories about how the Japanese are buying up more real estate in Los Angeles and Hawaii. Is this the beginning of an economic Pearl Harbor? Just this ridiculous.
It's just insane, xenophobia. And
insane yellow peril shit.
Yeah.
And right now, it's shifted over to China. It's the exact same shit.
Which it's important to point out, the reason China has grown so much in power isn't from some Chinese master plan. It's from American businesses moving their shit to China because it's cheaper to do business there. It's anyway. Fuck. What am I talking about? This is an email. Sorry.
Yeah. Sir, this is a Wendy's. And then Snow Crash also hits the same thing, interestingly, but from a slightly different aspect. With Neuromancer, you could say sort of the Japanese culture thing is vaguely a threat and exclusively relating to the characters who are in the underground, case, taking advantage of it and stuff. Then in Snow Crash, it's very much oh shit, our youth are worshiping technology and becoming fucking weebs.
And we were. Oh, we were.
Oh, we were. The I in hero protagonist stands for incredible fucking weeb.
Yeah.
So I think, Altered Carbon, that's how I initially kind of framed it. And Altered Carbon doesn't really sit with that at all, initially. Then I thought about it a little more. Okay, Altered Carbon came out in 2000. And I think the Altered Carbon books, especially after the first one certainly has a lot of aspects of it. But I think it really became the cyberpunk expression of a dominant cultural narrative in the 2000s, which was a sick, disgusting puddle of the war on terror, private soldiers and militias, and what we are willing to do to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
In all the Altered Carbon books, those are huge focuses, and I think Richard Morgan, with its publication in 2002, kind of lucked into, to some extent, hitting the nail on the head, because probably I assume the book probably was done circa September 2001.
Yeah.
So he just happened to exactly nail the private military contractor fucking zeitgeist at that moment, and just totally lucked out. And then, of course, over the past 7 years or so, has become a real piece of shit himself.
Yeah.
But I think Altered Carbon is a great pick for cyberpunk book of the 2000s, especially when you consider that Gibson hasn't written, at this point, William Gibson hasn't written a cyberpunk novel in 25 years. So
what would you say the 20 teens is?
I think Kevin is maybe exactly right again in suggesting it's Ready Player One. In that, as he said, and as I was initially reading this email for the first time, I kept going, "Oh no, you're insane," and then I'd read the next half sentence and go, "Oh no, okay, you're right. You explained yourself, and that makes sense."
So he convinced you.
Yeah. I think there are a number of really, really good cyberpunk novels from the 2010s that are a million times better and more effective than Ready Player One, including Nick Harkaway's The Gone Away World and his book Gnomon, Gnomon, which was I think was my number one book of the decade, as recorded for posterity on Sean's show.
Oh, that never made air.
Yeah, I know.
R.I.P. to what was a great recording.
Yeah, we were definitely not going insane. So there were way better and much more effective and interesting things that came out, but fuck, it is hard to deny the irritating bestseller and box office dominance status of Ready Player One, and just how dreadfully hollow it is.
He makes a good point with the nostalgia porn, which is what most of our media has become.
Yeah, it's really...
But it's not really a satire of it. It's an authentic reflection, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've seen people argue that that it's actually Spielberg. The movie is actually Spielberg looking back and saying, kind of, what have I done? Mm-hmm. Which I think is an interesting reading. I'm not going to watch the movie again to decide if that's accurate.
Oh, you'll watch it eventually.
Until we get to it on the show. I'm not going to do it extracurricularly. God damn it.
Do you think there's one shaping up for the 2020s?
I don't know. That's, I could be convinced. I think. I
have to say, if one title dominates the 2020s, it's not a book, unfortunately. It's a video game, because you can't search for Cyberpunk on the internet without having to scroll past
without being irritated and using Boolean -277.
Yeah, because it has, and I think, I don't know. I that game might be a reflection of the genre in this. I know it's very, like you said, retro 80s aesthetic, but also that's what it's become, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the video game is a really interesting example of, from when I played it, and that was when it came out. I haven't played what is it called? Sons of Liberty or something like that, the big patch.
Yeah, something like that.
When it came out, at least, I think it's actually a really interesting, I'm going to say good, but I mean interesting version of what this is, where it is mostly a lot of dumb nostalgia porn, mm-hmm. wrapped in a cool looking package with some pretty bad gameplay, But there are, throughout, you get these hints and like the occasional quest that is an actual, pretty cyberpunky concept, about corporations or governments or are AIs people, stuff like that. So that's a relatively minor part of the game.
Yeah,
but it is
definitely not
there.
what they sold it on either.
Yeah, it's definitely there, but it's not the majority of what's there, which I kind of think is an accurate reflection of cyberpunk as a genre, or at least the theoretical standing of cyberpunk in the year of our Lord 2024, where you go to r/cyberpunk, and it's a bunch of people who have glued neon lights to their jackets, or have these weird 3D printed helmets.
Or very cool. Not dogging them.
Some of them are very cool. Or like it's just a picture of a fog shrouded street with a bunch of fucking kanji neon on it. And then occasionally there's one every 30 posts is somebody saying, hey, here's this situation that was in the news. That's pretty fucking cyberpunk. Criminals in Russia were using one of those robot dogs to smuggle drugs.
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, that's pretty cyberpunk. That's actually like,
it's in there. It's sprinkled in.
Yeah, exactly. I think 2077 would be the 2020s version. And I mean, maybe there's something I haven't read, or maybe something I have read will suddenly become very popular.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's the potential. I could see the Murderbot series when that becomes a TV series on Apple.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that maybe creeping up and being the most important thing. Or, maybe it'll be Neuromancer again. Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, let's hope. Hope it's good.
Oh, they cast Hideo, the ninja.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Ali Wong's husband from Beef.
Oh, shit. He's a tall dude.
Yeah.
That's all I remember.
I read the article about it and then spent like 3 minutes staring at the wall going, who the fuck was this guy? It had a picture of him. Who the fuck was this guy? I've seen every episode of that. I saw it earlier this year. And then I realized my confusion arose from the beef and the bear.
The beef and the bear.
I was trying to think of, is there a Japanese guy on the bear? But because it's Chicago beef.
Yeah, I get it. The confusion is easy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not my fault. Anyway.
All right, we got to end this episode. We already actually did our plugs. Maybe I'll cut that part out and put it at the beginning where I initially intended to have it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks for the email, and thanks for listening this long when we didn't have a topic. We'll see you next week for Robocop. And Josh, send us out on a quote. I love putting him on the spot. You don't have a quote.
Can you just put a electronic echo on that? Existence. I don't know. Tears in the Rain.
Let's just hope 2025 is better. Although the odds are not looking good, folks. But let's hope.
Look, my year by year has been on a steady downward slide.
Yeah.
An exponentially worsening downhill slide for the past several years, so we'll try to survive.
Whenever we see something from 2014, I always refer to 2014, the last good year. That's probably not true, but it feels that way sometimes.
It really does. Yeah. Anyway,
all right.
Bye. We love you. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
This has been the High Tech Low Life podcast. Find us on Twitter at Johnny60seconds, email us at hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com, and find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Theme music by Nihilor at nihilor.com. Thank you for listening.
Keep it moving. Come on. What are you waiting on? Let's go.
They're trashing our rights, man! They're trashing the fluid data! They're trashing! Hide the planet! Hide the planet!
Shut up and get in the car.